Imagine a future where the battleground of tomorrow is not a scorched field or a ravaged city, but a silent war zone deep below the sea, a place invisible to most, yet capable of shaking entire nations to their core. It's a battlefield without borders, where armies move in silence, and the only warning is a flicker on a monitor or a pressure gauge plunging in the dark. Consider for a moment the world's most critical infrastructure. The pipes and cables that snake beneath our oceans carry more than just gas or data. They carry the promise of daily life, the warmth in our homes, the electricity that powers our cities, and the energy that fuels industries across continents. This web of hidden connections is as vital as any fortress or city, but it is far more vulnerable because it is largely out of sight and out of mind. Now imagine a cold night in late October. The Baltic Sea, usually a picture of calm, hides a drama unfolding beneath its waves. The main underwater gas pipeline, an artery pulsing with energy that fuels countless homes and industries across Europe, suddenly betrays its keepers. In a secure control center hundreds of kilometers away, operators, trained to read every blip and tremor, are jolted awake by a rapid, catastrophic pressure drop. This is no ordinary malfunction, no errant sensor. The highly trained team, with decades of experience and thousands of hours logged monitoring the pipeline, recognizes the signs immediately. The pressure does not just drop, it plummets, as if the lifeblood of Europe's energy supply has been severed. Within moments, alarms blare through the control room. Adrenaline surges as experts scramble to decipher the impossible. One senior engineer, recalling the incident years later, would describe the sensation as being in the cockpit of a plane when every warning light flashes red at once. "There was no time to think," he said. "Every second counted." Then came the order: initiate barrier. As the world above slept, a classified operation spun into motion. Specialized vessels and elite military units raced to the scene, while civilian ships were turned back at the cordon. Overhead, anti-submarine helicopters hovered, slicing the blackness with their beams, searching for any sign of the unseen enemy. This was not the first time such a scenario had played out in history, though never on this scale, or in such a strategically critical location. In the Second World War, Allied and Axis powers waged a relentless battle for control of the Atlantic's undersea cables, knowing that whoever held the lines of communication could win the war. In more recent years, attacks on critical infrastructure, like the Stuxnet cyber attack that crippled Iran's nuclear centrifuges or the sabotage of pipelines in the Middle East, have shown how vulnerable these arteries are to invisible threats. But the Baltic incident would prove to be a chilling escalation, a wake-up call that could not be ignored. Silence descended from officials. Not a single word leaked from behind closed doors. Was this a freak accident, or the opening strike in an undeclared war? Rumors flickered in the void. Some whispered about a massive leak, others about a shadowy act of sabotage. Panic simmered beneath every news update, every anonymous tip. Was this a twist of fate, or a deliberate attack meant to send a message? The world's gaze locked onto the Baltic as the foundation of daily life, energy, security, trust, began to feel suddenly fragile. Here is the unnerving truth. Ignoring the invisible threats that lurk beneath our seas is not just naive, it is dangerous. We are gambling with our security, our economies, and the very confidence we place in the systems that keep societies running. All it takes is one silent rupture to send shockwaves through markets, governments, and homes. To grasp how a single, shadowy incident could threaten the stability of continents, we must plunge into the Baltic's icy depths and uncover the secret battle that has already begun. What really happened beneath those waves, and who stands to gain from chaos? The answers lie in the darkness, waiting to be brought to light. It began with a single red warning light, a brief pulse among countless blinking monitors in the control room. To the untrained eye, it was just another minor alarm. But within minutes, that flicker became the spark igniting a crisis that would rattle governments and send security teams racing through the night. Far beneath the icy surface of the Baltic Sea, a vital gas pipeline runs for hundreds of kilometers, carrying energy from Russia to Europe. This artery has powered cities, industries, and millions of homes for decades, linking economies and making nations depend on its continuous flow. Its security is absolute priority. Sonar webs, vibration detectors, automated pressure monitors, and encrypted lines of communication guard it at every moment, all designed to spot trouble before disaster strikes. Yet tonight, those defenses were tested as never before. The first clue was almost invisible, a sudden, inexplicable drop in pressure deep below the waves, followed by a cascade of erratic signals rippling along the seabed. For the seasoned operators, the meaning was unmistakable. Something was happening in the dark, far beneath human reach, where sunlight cannot penetrate and routine inspections are impossible. The response was swift and silent. Emergency protocols snapped into action. Elite teams were summoned, and drone submarines built to withstand crushing depths plunged into the freezing blackness. Patrol ships converged above the suspected breach, their searchlights slicing the mist as specialists worked under unrelenting tension. The area was instantly closed to all civilian vessels, flagged on every marine chart as forbidden. Underwater robots scoured the pipeline's length, searching for anything out of place. A dent, a rupture, a sign of sabotage. For most people, critical infrastructure is invisible, an unseen network that quietly sustains modern life. But now, the illusion of safety was shattered. When a pipeline goes silent or a power grid flickers, the impact is immediate and relentless. Energy prices soar, factories freeze, even the simplest utilities can fail. The greatest danger of all is ignorance, because what you do not see can be exploited, and our dependence makes us vulnerable in ways we barely imagine. What had happened in the murk below? As investigators pressed deeper, chilling evidence began to surface, revealing the outlines of a threat no one had fully anticipated. The world was about to confront the terrifying reality of a new kind of warfare, one fought not on battlefields, but in the shadows beneath the sea. But the story was only beginning. As the investigation expanded, each discovery hinted at a deeper, more deliberate scheme, one that could upend the fragile balance of energy and security across the continent. When evidence refuses to fit the official script, who gets to decide what really happened, and who pays the price? Within mere hours, a covert response team plunged into the icy blackness beneath the Baltic Sea. What they uncovered at depths of over 100 meters was no accident. The pipeline's reinforced steel hull had been sliced open with clinical accuracy, as if by a master surgeon. Scattered among twisted metal, the investigators found alien, foreign-built components, technology that simply should not have been there. Divers soon recovered other ominous objects. Some were advanced surveillance devices, their origin unknown. Others seemed purpose-built for sabotage, engineered to operate unseen. Every clue ruled out random failure, pointing instead toward a chilling truth. This was not nature's work, but a meticulously planned assault carried out by skilled, invisible hands. News of the breach triggered a lightning-fast escalation. Warships and support vessels rushed in, sealing off the blast zone with an impenetrable cordon. Above, anti-submarine helicopters sliced through the gray clouds, while drones swept every square meter for lurking threats. The area became a no-go region, locked down on every maritime chart and forbidden to the outside world. Yet the real battle was just beginning. Leaks spilled across social media and news feeds within minutes. Whispers of hybrid warfare, speculation about shadowy state actors, wild theories of economic blackmail. The uncertainty spread like oil on water. Energy markets convulsed, prices spiked overnight, and the prospect of further attacks rippled through already fragile global supply chains. Diplomatic tempers ignited. Accusations shot back and forth between capitals, each government scrambling to shape the story and shield itself from blame. Information became ammunition. In this new war, truth itself could be twisted into a weapon, or lost altogether. The stakes could not be higher. If societies failed to recognize the warning signs of hybrid attacks, they risk being ambushed again, leaving their lifelines, their security, and even their daily routines exposed. This is no longer just a question of who struck first. Now the world must grapple with how to defend an era where every pipeline and cable is a silent front line. But what happens when the world's vital energy flows become theaters of war, and the line between peace and conflict fades to gray? In the aftermath, suspicion spreads faster than facts. Every side prepares for the next move, knowing that the rules of the game have changed forever. The Baltic incident was not an isolated act, but the opening salvo in an invisible war. Headlines overflowed with accusations and denials as Russia, Europe, and ambiguous third parties all stepped into the glare, each desperate to deflect blame. In this new order, truth is as slippery and hidden as the currents running deep beneath the sea. Markets convulsed. Gas prices leapt overnight, and the shockwaves crashed far past the boundaries of energy giants. Investors scrambled in fear, while families everywhere braced for steeper bills and a gnawing sense of economic fragility. A single act of sabotage rattled kitchen tables and rattled entire nations. Quickly, the world watched as governments armed their critical infrastructure. Security patrols multiplied around pipelines and energy depots. Surveillance balloons, drones, and warships became a routine presence, not only in the Baltic, but wherever pipelines snake under the world's oceans. Leaders rushed to close gaps, but experts agreed, nowhere on Earth is a pipeline truly safe. Trust, once the silent foundation of global cooperation, began to crumble. Old alliances bent under suspicion and fear. Every leak, press briefing, or grainy video clip became ammunition in a new and relentless information war. Official statements were picked apart for coded threats. Anonymous voices fueled rumor and doubt online. The contest for facts raged just as fiercely as the struggle for control beneath the waves. Now, the stakes could not be higher. If trust shatters entirely, the world risks losing the fragile cooperation that keeps energy flowing, borders open, and agreements alive. Walls may rise and treaties may fall, leaving nations, and ordinary people, more exposed and alone than ever before. But in the shadows of this chaos, a handful of investigators begin to pick up the trail, each following clues that could tilt the balance of power or plunge the world deeper into crisis. What does this silent chess match beneath the waves mean for your everyday life? And what must change if you want to stay one step ahead? The age when only governments fretted over power grids and pipelines is gone. Now, invisible threats stalk the arteries that keep our societies alive. That means every person, whether you are a policymaker, a business leader, or an ordinary citizen, must rethink what security and resilience truly require. Why is this urgent? Because these attacks do not just make headlines. They drive up your monthly bills, threaten access to heat and light, and quietly undermine national independence. The gravest danger is complacency. If we look away, we invite rolling blackouts, economic shocks, and the slow leak of prosperity from our lives. How do we adapt to this shadow war? First, we must value transparent information above all else. Societies need real-time monitoring, open communication, and a culture where people report strange activity immediately, not cover it up. Only with open eyes and ears can we catch minor breaches before they explode into full-scale crises. Second, international teamwork is no longer a choice. It is a necessity. Underwater cables and pipelines cross borders, linking the fates of millions. No country can guard these lifelines alone. Governments must share threat data, synchronize emergency plans, and coordinate swift responses. When one nation's grid fails, the shockwaves do not stop at its borders. Third, innovation is now about survival rather than speed or profit. Both sides, defenders and attackers, are racing to develop new tools. For those protecting infrastructure, that means investing in smarter sensors, artificial intelligence to flag anomalies, and backup systems that can take over if disaster strikes. For businesses, it means weaving cyber and physical resilience into every step of the supply chain. Yet, none of this matters without accountability. citizens must demand that their lifelines are protected. Companies must not cut corners for short-term gain. Lawmakers must update rules and fund defenses that keep pace with evolving dangers. If we accept vague promises instead of real proof, we gamble with our future. The stakes could not be higher. If we do nothing, we risk higher costs, more outages, and the loss of basic control over our lives. But if we act, insisting on transparency, nurturing innovation, and working together, we can protect not just our comfort, but our peace of mind and freedom for years to come. The front lines have shifted. Our response must shift with them. Here is what comes next. But how did this new struggle begin? And who stands to gain or lose the most as the rules of conflict are rewritten beneath the surface? To answer that, we must look back at the spark that set this underwater war in motion. The true war for energy is fought in silence. Its outcome will shape the daily lives of millions, whether we are ready or not. This is no longer a faraway conflict between governments or faceless agents. The front lines have shifted. Now, the battlefield is invisible and everywhere, beneath the ocean, inside computer code, woven through the veins of our cities. The first major blow landed deep below the Baltic Sea, setting off a chain reaction that cannot be undone. Nations scramble to fill gaps in their defenses, yet there is no clear enemy, no warning siren. Attacks on energy systems do not announce themselves. They arrive without headlines, in the quiet hours, in places most of us will never see. Still, their shockwaves reach every home, business, and hospital. The line between war and peace has dissolved. The stakes could not be greater. Ignore this silent front, and the dangers come home fast. Energy bills that soar out of reach, lights that flicker and die, jobs that disappear, and a creeping fear that safety is slipping away. Countries that look away may lose control, not just of their power grids, but of their own destinies. This is not only the realm of politicians or generals. All of us are tied to these hidden lifelines. The warmth in your house, the fuel in your car, the strength of your economy, each depends on what happens in places you may never know exist. If we fail to protect these vital arteries, we gamble with our future. The lesson is as stark as it is urgent. Awareness is our first shield. We must not be lulled into complacency. Demand clarity from those in charge. Insist on resilience in the systems we rely on. Remember, the greatest threats are often the ones we cannot see. Hybrid warfare is not a distant specter. It is already here. The only question left: will we adapt and defend ourselves, or be left in the cold shadow of the next invisible attack? Let's examine some concrete examples of how this invisible war has already changed the world, and what practical steps we can take to defend ourselves. In 2014, Ukraine experienced a series of devastating attacks on its power grid. Entire regions were plunged into darkness. Hospitals operated by candlelight, traffic signals failed, and factories ground to a halt. These attacks were not just technical glitches. They were deliberate acts of sabotage, designed to sow chaos and undermine confidence in the government. The lesson was clear. When critical infrastructure is targeted, the ripple effects reach every corner of society. Or take the example of the Colonial Pipeline attack in the United States in 2021. A ransomware attack shut down one of the country's largest fuel pipelines, causing panic buying, fuel shortages, and price spikes across the eastern seaboard. For days, millions of Americans faced uncertainty and disruption, all because of a single, invisible strike. Looking back even further, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States engaged in a silent struggle to tap and protect undersea communication cables. The famous Operation Ivy Bells saw American submarines secretly attaching listening devices to Soviet cables deep below the Sea of Okhotsk. This risky game of espionage showed just how far nations would go to control the flow of information beneath the waves. These incidents are not isolated. They are warnings. Each one shows that the lines between war and peace, security and vulnerability, are blurring. Today, with so much of our critical infrastructure connected and automated, the risks are multiplying. So what can we do? Here are 5 practical steps that governments, businesses, and individuals can take to reduce the risks and build resilience. First, invest in robust monitoring and rapid response systems. Just as cities have fire brigades on standby, critical infrastructure must have teams ready to act the moment an anomaly is detected. This includes deploying advanced sensors, underwater drones, and round-the-clock surveillance. Second, promote international cooperation and information sharing. The threats we face do not respect borders. By creating joint task forces, sharing intelligence, and running regular drills, nations can respond more effectively to attacks and prevent escalation. The European Union's Energy Union initiative is one example of how countries can pool resources to protect shared interests. Third, build redundancy into essential systems. No single pipeline, cable, or grid should be a single point of failure. By creating multiple routes and backup capacities, we can ensure that even if one artery is cut, the system as a whole remains resilient. Fourth, prioritize education and training. Everyone from government officials to factory workers should be aware of the risks and know how to spot suspicious activity. Public awareness campaigns, cybersecurity drills, and regular updates on threat levels can make a significant difference. Fifth, demand transparency and accountability from those in charge. Citizens should ask tough questions. How is our infrastructure being protected? Are there contingency plans in place? When incidents happen, are we told the full truth, or is information withheld? Democracy depends on informed citizens, and only through openness can trust be restored. Let's also consider some future scenarios. What happens if a major undersea data cable is severed, cutting off an entire region's access to the internet and crippling financial transactions? Or if coordinated cyber and physical attacks hit multiple pipelines at once, triggering cascading failures across several countries? These are not science fiction. They are real possibilities, and only by preparing for them can we hope to prevent disaster. History offers both warnings and hope. After the blackout in Ukraine, the country invested heavily in cyber defenses, partnered with international agencies, and rebuilt its grid with more resilience. Following the Colonial Pipeline attack, American authorities worked with private companies to update security standards and share threat information more broadly. Each crisis offers a chance to learn and strengthen our defenses. But in the end, the most important step is awareness. The invisible war beneath the waves is not going away. It is up to all of us, governments, businesses, communities, and individuals, to stay vigilant, demand accountability, and insist on innovation. The next time you turn on a light, fill your car with fuel, or log on to the internet, remember, you are connected to a vast, hidden network that must be protected. The battle for security and resilience is not just for the experts. It is a responsibility we all share. So, as the world faces this new era of invisible threats, let us respond with eyes wide open, united in purpose, and determined never to be caught off guard again. The silent war may be fought in darkness, but our defense begins in the clear light of awareness and action.